Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is the very first video on this channel, and to start things off, I'm going to be doing a 2021-22 Premier League predictions. This will include who's going to get relegated, finish Europa League, Champions League, win the title, Young Player of the Year, and the Golden Boot winner. Hope you enjoy. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm hoping to be able to do videos every week in which I predict the weekend's fixtures and results. So hopefully keep an eye out for that. Probably hopefully start that off next week. But yeah, let's just get straight into it. Obviously comment below if you agree with any opinions or you disagree, or I just want to hear what you guys think. So for the bottom one, we have Norwich. I've gone for Norwich to finish 20th, and that is just because every time they've got promoted in recent time, in both 13-14 and 15-16 and 19-20, they've got relegated straight away, straight back down. And I just think they'll do exactly the same this year. I think losing Buendia especially will be a massive loss to them. They've still got some great players in there with Pookie, and they've just signed Rashika, and obviously have Todd Cantwell and a couple of good players, but I just don't think, I think they're good for Championship, but I just don't think they're Prem level, to be honest. And then for 19th, I've gone for another newly promoted side in Brentford. This is obviously one of the first times, if not the first time, Brentford have been in the Premier League in a very long time. So I just think it'll be a bit above them, and I think they'll struggle because they just won't be used to the level of competition in which they played against. So they also had a great season last season to get promoted. They finally got over the hurdle of winning the playoffs and getting through that. So it's a massive achievement for them, of course. But last season, they conceded the most goals out of the top four in the Championship, which was 42. They did, in fact, score the most. So I don't have an issue with them scoring, but that was Championship. So obviously, Premier League will be much tougher. So for them, goals might be a bit tougher to come by. But as they concede the most in arguably a lower level of football, I think they might struggle, and especially when it comes to some of the big hitters in the Premier League, such as the likes of City, Liverpool, United, and Chelsea. I think a lot of them will just hit them for quite comfortable numbers, to be honest. But I think they'll win. They'll surprise in a few games. They'll get a few surprise results, but I just don't think it'll be enough consistently throughout the season to keep them up. But their home form will be especially important. A lot of these promoted sides, their home form is massive to prove me wrong and keeping them up. So best of luck for them. And then for 18th, I've gone for Burnley. I think their football's a bit like outdated when it comes to Premier League. Might be a bit bold, but watching them is just boring and just dry. Like, if people don't like football and the first game they watch is Burnley, you'll never see them watch football again. Like, they're shocking to watch. Like, long balls, throw-ins, hoofs. Just, it's not how the game should be played. Like, it's disgusting, to be honest. But they scored the third fewest goals in the season last year. Only Fulham and Sheffield scored less than them last year, and both those sides went down. So they do struggle for goals. So they can cause centre back struggles a lot, but they're not scoring enough goals. So with every team's getting every team's defense getting better by year. So it's obviously going to get harder for them to score, and they don't change their style of play. It's route one, week in, week out. No matter who you're playing, route one. So for them, I think it'll be hard for them to get the goals. Obviously, goals win games. So I think they'll struggle next season massively. And then to fill up some of the middle of the pack, we've got for Watford, again, newly promoted side. I think the experience they've got compared to Brentford and Norwich, having a few more years in the Premier League, or like big players such as Ben Foster and Troy Deeney will have the experience to keep them up. And I think they'll just do enough to stay up. I think someone like Ismail Sarr and João Pedro have good seasons and keep them up, and potentially sort of looking from an individual point of view and trying to get a move to a bigger club and stepping stone up the league to get to the top level. And then Brighton, again, they've got a few really good players. They have just lost Ben White, who's probably their best defender, but players like Basuma is very sought after. They've got Neil Maupay, and they've got Trossard, and a couple of very good footballers in that team. So I think for them, there'll be enough, again, just to keep them up again, just about enough, keep them there. Southampton, I put low down because without Danny Ings, I think they might struggle to score goals. He was their talisman last year. Even with injuries, he got him out of many occasions. Always knows where the back of the net is. I think that's a great sign for Villa. But yeah, without him, I think they'll struggle. And they've just lost Vestergaard as well to Leicester. I believe that's happening fairly soon. So big centre back. Obviously, it was a bit of powerhouse at the back, so they'll lose his leadership at the back, and obviously Danny Ings' leadership at the top. And there is also rumours that, as I'm recording this, that James Ward-Prowse could be going to either Aston Villa or West Ham, I think I saw. So if he goes as well, losing their skipper and then players, it could be a real downfall for the Saints. And then 14, we've got Newcastle, who trying to get Joe Willock, who had a fantastic end to the year for them, but other than that, they've not done anything this transfer window. One of the few clubs, as it stands, have not signed anyone. Obviously, because they haven't got the deal for Joe Willock over the line yet. But by the time the season starts, that probably will finish. But I just don't think. I think they struggle to score. I don't think Joe Linton's the man for them. I think they've got good players like St Maximin and Almiron, but they get that striker, then that team score a few goals. They're not as solid as they used to be at the back. Mistakes and stuff cost them. So I just think they'll just hang about. Again, Premier League experience, the fans, the stadium, the experience, that'll keep them in there, but nothing extreme from Newcastle this season, unfortunately. 13th, we've got Palace. Yeah, again, they've had a few good they've brought in a couple of players this year, I believe. They brought in Anderson. Yeah, he was a good signing to centre back. He'll help them for sure. And they brought Conor Gallagher on loan from Chelsea. He had a good season with West Brom and did like a good player, so he'll help them out. But they will be missing Eze for, I think, up until Christmas. I think the injury is. So again, they'll be relying on Wilfred Zaha and people like Benteke, but I'm just not sure if they can all do anything. So hopefully Gallagher has a good season and helps them out. And 12th, I've gone for Wolves. Positive news for Wolves is that Jimenez is back. Raul Jimenez is back after his awful injury back in last season. So, and he scored a couple of goals in pre-season. So it'll be good to see him back on the score sheet. So I think he'll give them a boost. But last season, especially just their manager, so maybe it's a different sort of Wolves. So it could be a bit of like a rebuilding process. They might just sort of aim for mid-table. I know Neto's out, and I think he's meant to miss the start of the season. I'm not sure for exactly how long, but he was a class footballer before he got injured. I thought he was really up there, one of the top young players in the league. So sad to see him not playing week in, week out for them, because he did so much for them going forward. Goals, assists, just a really creative player. So that'd be a shame for them, and I think they'll miss his talent in the middle. And at 11th, I've gone for West Ham. I just think last year was a fluke for them. I think Lingard helped him out massively, and I don't see him going back there. I think he just wants to stay United and try and fight for his place. But again, I just think it was a bit of a fluke. They have good players, but some of them are probably overrated. Some of the likes of Rice and that are just a bit overrated just because the English thing. So I think 11th might be a little bit harsh. They might finish a little bit higher, but that's where I've gone with them. I just don't see them as a top 6, top 7, top 8 team. I think, again, as I said, it was just a fluke. But likes of Ben Rama have a point to prove this season, sort of doing their thing. And Antonio, again, will have to be their main man. Hopefully, as long as they can keep him fit, then they have quite a good chance, I think, at probably proving me wrong, I'd say, but nothing too drastic. And 10th, I've gone for my rivals, Everton, just same old as always. They buy whoever they want last year. They've got all the talent, but they're just like, they don't do much with it. They obviously lost Carlo Ancelotti, went back to Real Madrid. He was a massive pull factor for signings, hence why they brought in players like James. But I think for them, I just don't see him doing much more than 10th. They'll have good spells, but I don't see Calvert-Lewin doing enough for them to get him into any European places or anything next season, to be honest. 9th, I've gone for Leeds. I think that'd be a good finish for them. I think, again, Marcel Bielsa's got them playing great football, the murder ball, so they'll be going up and down. And they've got some really good players like Rafinha, Bamford, Harrison, Phillips. They've got some real talent in that squad, and they score goals for fun. Yes, they can be a bit leaky at the back, but the way they play, it's always going to happen to the best of teams. And as long as they keep going forward and keep creating chances, they will take them. And I think they'll do more than enough to get top 10 this season. Maybe even a push for some European places, depending on how the league goes, because that's the way football is. 8th, I've gone for Aston Villa. Yes, you might think that's crazy as they just lost Jack Grealish, but the money they've spent, that 100 million has gone terrific in my opinion. They've brought in some really great players. Bailey looks outstanding in the Bundesliga. Danny Ings, proven Premier League striker, finisher, knows where the goal is, and he'll fight. He'll get them goals. Emi Bundy, he did in the Championship. Didn't have the greatest season when he was in the Prem last time with Norwich, but I think this season it'll be all about him in the middle, and he'll obviously still have the likes of McGinn and El Ghazi and some really good players. And I just brought in Tuanzebe on loan as well, who helped him get into the Premier League in the first place. So I think for them to have a lot of points to prove as well, to prove they can do it without Grealish, I might give them a bit of a incentive. And I think 8th place potentially as well, again, push for European places. If the top 7 above them aren't consistent, they can easily be snapping at the heels, I think, with Leeds, because they've got the talent to do so. It's just about keeping the likes of Danny Ings fit. I know they have Ollie Watkins, but I'm not sure he's as clinical as Danny Ings, in my opinion. But he's still a top striker, so I think for them, they got a good backup. If they can create a partnership, they could be a real force this season that no one really wants to go to an away trip to Villa, to be honest. 7th, I've gone for Arsenal. Yeah, it might be a bit bold, probably a bit too high for them, but you know, like, it's Arsenal, so they've still got a chance. Like, they find form somewhere or another. I think it's a massive season for Nicolas Pepe to sort of prove his worth. It's taken him a couple of years, but this year I can see him having a good season for them and helping them get 7th. I think Aubameyang's fallen up a little bit. And I think obviously getting Ben White and sorting out defensive issues, because the likes of David Luiz just weren't getting enough and it's just making them into a joke club. So he'll help them shore up the back, make less mistakes, and hopefully they'll push on forward. But otherwise, they'll probably be the same old Arsenal. They'll go through spells. Everyone will laugh at them, and then they'll finish 7th. And depends how long they give Arteta, to be honest. And all the Croydon, De Bruyne, Smith Rowe, and Saka, I think, will have decent seasons. But there's rumours they could get Maddison, but I think that'd be a bit of a downgrade. So if they get Maddison, might move him up 1 or 2 places, but I can't see that happening. So I'll put him in 7th. 6th place, their London rivals, Tottenham. Tottenham, again, similar enough to Arsenal. Harry Kane and Son show. So when Harry Kane gets injured, it's not a matter of if, it's when, and they don't have a backup. There's rumours Lautaro Martinez is going for 60 million. If they get him, again, could potentially push them high. But defensively, last season especially, they weren't that great. A lot of the defenders are old, and players like Aurier make mistakes. Lloris isn't a great goalkeeper. But they have got a new manager in Nuno, so I hope for them, they'll be hoping that he can help shore them up at the back, and people like Højbjerg and Domblé can really get involved in the season this year, and for them, hopefully move them up. But I can't see them getting into the top 5, to be honest, with the players that teams above them have and the consistency. I just think Tottenham, but benefit for them, I think they're in the Conference League next year, but if they're not, then a chance of out European football could help them, but I think they might just be in the conference. 5th place, I've got Leicester, the Community Shield winners and the FA Cup winners. I've had a good start to the season, obviously winning the trophy, good confidence base for them. I think Patson Daka has been a phenomenal sign for them, because Vardy, again, can pick up a few injuries, and Iheanacho's a very good player, but he does prefer being with a strike partner, I believe. So I think Patson Daka gives him that incentive and option off the bench to rotate, like especially in that busy Christmas period. Like Jamie Vardy's not getting any younger, so being able to swap and rotate with Daka, I think, could really help him out. I can see Daka having a great season. There's a reason some of the biggest clubs in England, like Liverpool, were looking at him. So it's been phenomenal in the Austrian league. So he'll give him a real pace and finishing up top like Vardy does. And he's only young, so he'll help him massively off the bench. And obviously, like some Maddison, Harvey Barnes will be coming back. They have just lost Fafana, which could be a big blow. But I still think they've got enough quality with the likes of Tielemans, Soyuncu, Pereira, a lot of great players in that team to get them challenging top 4 or 5. And obviously they'll be competing in Europa League. I can see them going quite far in that. Potentially, maybe winning it, depending on who gets knocked out of Champions League. But I think all in all, Leicester will have a good season again. Probably just fall off again like they do at the end for top four. Now going into the top four, Champions League place. I've gone for fourth place. I've gone for the new Super Cup champions, Chelsea. Where do I start? They're spending 100 million nearly on Lukaku, which for them is the final piece in the jigsaw, in my opinion. I think it's a bit of a. I can see why they did it because Timo Werner isn't that clinical and he does miss, but he does get in the right chances and he can't always be offside as you've seen. So he's just very unlucky. But I think Lukaku will give them goals that Timo Werner couldn't get them. I think the defensively they're superb. Tuchel's got them set up the right way. The midfield is excellent with Kante, Jorginho. It's a great balance in midfield. And their wing backs, whether it be Alonso and James, Chilwell and James, whoever it is, they've got quality around the pitch, to be honest. And Mendy's a great goalkeeper. He's been outstanding since he's joined the league, and so is Thiago Silva. Rudiger's stepped up his game, so has Christensen. Mason Mount's been class last season. So him, Pulisic, Havertz. I think Havertz had a phenomenal season. I think last season you saw at the end he started to prove himself. It just took him a bit of time, but you can see now there's a real player in him, and I think he'll have a great season. I think Werner now will be shot for confidence, especially when Lukaku arrives, because he didn't have much confidence before, but seeing a player like Lukaku arrive, he knows he's not going to be playing much. So I feel bad for him, but he'll just have to prove it and try and get back into that team. Third place, I've gone for Manchester United. People might question that because of the fact they've brought in great players in the positions they need, but in my opinion, I'm more scared of a United team with a proper CDM in that team, like an Ndidi or Rice, compared to a team with Varane or Sancho. I personally didn't think they needed Sancho. I think Greenwood and the likes of Diallo and even James would have done enough for them. I don't think right wing was a desperate situation. I think they were better off using that money for a Declan Rice or Wilfred Ndidi, who would have really shot that midfield alongside Paul Pogba and getting the best of Pogba. I think Varane is a phenomenal sign for 40 million. I think it's a great signing for them money wise, and him and their back four and their teams will be superb. Like they'll be a great team, and there's no reason why they can't get top. I just don't think consistency for them will be enough. I think a couple of injuries to that team, like you saw at the end of last season, when Maguire picked up an injury, they're all over the place. I suppose now Varane, you might argue that they've got that cover now, but for me, I just don't think they've got enough in that squad to challenge the two teams above it, which you can probably already guess, because just down to consistency. I think they can do well in the Champions League. I think they'll probably win a cup, like an FA Cup, I think. But I just don't see this season. I think this season will be a great stepping stone for Lee. But I think they do have to win something like that. For me, I think he's got to go because he's spent the money now, and if he doesn't have anything to show up for it, I think he's got to go. Second place, I've gone for Man City. People are going to go, oh, that's mad. But no, obviously I've got to back my own club, so I've got to put Liverpool top. But we'll start with Man City. Obviously, they've had a great transfer window and getting Jack Grealish and 100 million. But in my opinion, I think that's pointless. I don't think that's really helped them much because they can't play more. And obviously, there's rumours about Harry Kane, but I can't see that happening now. They might do. If they do get Harry Kane again, I probably would move him to top. But they can't play all these players. They can't play Kane, Grealish, Sterling, De Bruyne, Mahrez, Bernardo. They can't have all these players on the pitch at once. It just wouldn't work. So 100 million on a potential a player that's going to get, 15, 20 games a season? Obviously, he's a class footballer, Grealish, but 100 million, I think they were just better off going for Haaland for that, to be honest. Using that 100 and adding the books of 20 on and getting Haaland, I think would make more sense for them. But obviously, Man City, you know, they like that. I think for them, their focus is the Champions League, and on the side, they just do the league. And the fact their squad's outstanding. I think their squad is the best in the league without doubt. Because obviously they can just swap out Ferran Torres, bring in Mahrez, take out Jesus, put Sterling up top, Cancelo, Kyle Walker. They've got all these phenomenal footballers, 50, 60 million pound all over the place. So it's what you expect. So for them, I think second place and potentially first, but I definitely think they'll win something, whether it be a Carabao Cup or maybe the Champions League, but PSG will have something to say about that, I think, this year. And top, I've gone for Liverpool. Got to back them. I just think people will laugh and be like, oh no, they haven't signed anyone major. I was like, Konate is a massive signing for us because our centre backs have all come off big injuries. Matip's injury prone. Gomez had a fair few injuries. So I think Konate at 22, 21 years of age, I think he's going to be a powerhouse learner off the likes of Van Dijk and Joel Matip. He's really going to excel this season. Whether or not he plays loads, but I think he'll turn into a great player. But I think Liverpool have a point to prove. I think last season they underperformed massively. Yes, the injuries didn't help. It's an excuse up until a point, but the players out there weren't good enough. I think there's only two players for me personally as a fan that produced their best. And I think that was Fabinho and Mo Salah. I think Alisson had a decent season. Other than that, I don't think anyone really reached the heights of what they're capable of. Trent had a good finish. Robertson was consistent as always, but I think a lot of them can go into that second, third gear. And I think this season, hopefully, I'll have a fully fit Thiago for most of the season, who's an absolute world-class footballer. And I think we'll see the best of him. Henderson will stay fit. Hopefully, Fabinho stays in his natural position and not forced back to centre-back. And Van Dijk will be back. I think that's just massive. The role's always been back in defence. It will give confidence to the full-backs, let them bomb forward. And the more chances they're given to the front three, the more they're going to score. Hopefully, that's Jota stay fit again this season, not pick up that injury when he was really on great form. He's a great option off the bench to rotate the front three because Mino and Mane can go for a bit of dry spells. But if you're able to swap Jota in, then I think that'd be really good. I think Naby Keita's got a big season ahead of him to stay fit and slowly prove his worth because up until now he's been a bit of a flop. But if he proves that money, then I think this season could be a big move for him. Chamberlain as well had a fantastic pre-season. He's been trying out in that false nine role. So he could be a good option for Firmino. I love Chamberlain, one of my favourite players, but he doesn't get enough game time for me. You saw he came on against Burnley, scored a great goal. He played well, so he does need more minutes, but it's hard when he's not always fit as well. He struggles with injuries a lot. But signing-wise, I just hope we get rid of a bit of deadwood, like Shaqiri and Origi can go. Obviously, I can see and dream and get like an Mbappe or Renato Sanchez and someone major, but realistically, I don't think we need a forward right now. I think Harvey Elliott, as what I've seen pre-season, has been outstanding. And yeah, you can be like, oh, he's 17, 18 years of age, but if he's good enough, it doesn't matter. Like, off the bench, he's played in the centre mid role and off the right wing for us. So that would be great considering African Cup of Nations is in January, I believe, or December. So we'll be losing Mo Salah and Mane for potentially about a month. And you'd expect Senegal and potentially Egypt to get quite far in that competition. So we'd lose him for quite a while. So him being able to play with Jota and Firmino, I still think that's a good enough front three to get through a few games. Because Harvey looks outstanding. It looks like he could really go to the top level. He's just got to keep his head down and stay focused and get the minutes. And I think that'd be better from this season. I think a loan spell again would be good for him, but he's proven that he's good enough. So I think Klopp backs him. I think a lot of the players believe in him. So for me, I wouldn't get rid of him. I'd let him just come in out the cups, come off the bench, start a few games, rotate the squad, and then get in around the changing room, learn off the experienced players like some Milner, Henderson. And I think you'll see the best out of Harvey Elliott coming. Maybe not this season, but coming on the loan for next season. He's got so many years left of his career, so he's only going to get better, in my opinion. So that's why I think he's going to win it. Obviously, let me know down below what you think, whether you agree or disagree, who you think's going to finish where. So I think the top goal scorer, obviously, if Liverpool are going to win the league, it only makes sense that Egyptian king wins the top goal scorer again. Since he's been back in the Premier League, he's been probably the best right winger on the planet, behind Lionel Messi, because Messi's from a different planet, obviously. But he's been outstanding. Just scores goals for fun. He's not necessarily much clinical, but he gets so many chances and he has to score. And I think the service, when we see the best out of Trent, Thiago, Henderson, Naby Keita, like all these players, they're only going to get more chances for Mo to score. And I think he can finish the season with about 24, 25 goals plus, I'd say, and a good amount of assists. And then for the player of the year, I could see it being potentially a Liverpool player as well. I think that could be Trent. I think Trent could somehow sneak it. If he has a great season, gets a lot of assists, and we obviously win the league, a lot of clean sheets, gets in team of the year, obviously proves all the haters wrong. I think he has a good shout for player of the year. Him or Van Dijk I'd put up there because obviously one of them will have a massive impact. I don't think they'll give it to Salah, but yeah, I said if it would be anyone, it'd be Salah, Van Dijk or Trent if we win it. If we didn't win it, it'd probably be a De Bruyne for Man City if they won it. And for my young player of the year, I've gone for Jadon Sancho of United. I think it's going to have a great season for United. I think he's going to hit the ground running. You've seen what he can do in the Bundesliga. He's a baller. Man can do everything. score, assist, beat players, do it all we like. And I think if he does that for United and get some top three, like close top three as well, I think this table title race will be very close. I don't think there'll be like a 20-point gap. I think it'll come down to the final 3-4 games of the season. I think it'll be massive. I think fans coming back will play a huge impact, especially from my club. We lost however many games at home. That just wouldn't happen, I don't think, with fans. And I think it makes a massive difference for a lot of these clubs. Their form and their fans back in the stadium will give everyone a boost, I think, which will make every game tougher, obviously, to the newly promoted sides and all the clubs, to be honest. But yeah, going back to Jadon Sancho, I think he's going to have a great season for them. I reckon he'll get 10 plus goals and assists for sure. And he'll help them get Champions League comfortably, I think. And potentially even a trophy as well, with FA Cup or something like that. Maybe Europa League when they get knocked out of Champions League, probably. But yeah, hopefully let me know what you think of that. And it's always just the first beer, so don't be too harsh on me. Cut me a bit of slack, but that's my opinion on the Premier League and who I think is going to win what and where people are going to finish. So thank you all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that. Share with your mates. I'll share all my Instagram, Twitter, and everything below, and I'll keep posting when my video's back next week. I'll try and get into the habit of doing weekly reviews for fixtures, and I'll be reviewing it and let you know what I think will happen next week. And once I get into the habit, I'll be doing that for you every week. So yeah, thank you very much for watching.